Alright lads, so the road to Lost Belt 7 part 5.1 Atlantis has dropped over here on the NA side of things, and I guess they're trying to get these all out because hey, Lost Belt 7 is kind of around the corner. We only have a couple of months before it drops, so you know, we should probably start dropping these things, start giving us the content, and this one's actually a pretty decent one. Not only are you going to be able to walk away with 14 Saint Quartz, barring that you haven't done any of the interludes before, but you'll also walk away with a couple of tickets. There's also a couple of upgrades for Achilles and Chiyome. And the rate up isn't the craziest, but it's also not half bad, and I do know some particular people that have been waiting for a particular buff boy to come back. So we're going to talk about all that and more in today's video, and if you like being informed on all things that go down on the NA and JP side of things, make sure you drop a like in the video and maybe even consider subscribing to the channel, and leave your comments in the comments down below as to who you're going to be pulling for, if anybody at all, during the celebration, and I guess use this video as a catalyst. But without further ado, let's start getting into this celebration and what we're going to be getting. First and foremost, like I mentioned, if you have not done any of the interludes for all of these servants in question, you will have a total of at least 14 Saint Quartz available to you for just going through and doing these interludes. Now, obviously, some of them you've probably already done. You know, you probably have Mandricardo, you probably have Corday, Paris, Bartholomew. You know, you've probably already done these guys. But hey, if you don't have Super Orion, Drake, or say someone like Chiyome, you can do their interludes, which just offer you 2 Saint Quartz straight up. So do not forget to do these. And again, some of these do require you to actually finish Atlantis itself, and you know, particularly the case of people like say Mandricardo or Super Orion over here. But thankfully, if you're struggling to get through, maybe you don't have the craziest account, or you just don't have guys leveled up or something along those lines, for one, you could pretty much solo most of this content with just any halfway decent solo servant. Find a friend coup alter and just kind of plow your way through all of the content. But again, there are some nodes that I do know some players find particularly annoying. If you're looking at say the Chiyome and Mash fight and you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't level my Mash, which you'd be surprised is still possible to get through, but it is very, very hard. And if you're not willing to try to put in that work, you know, trying to split hairs over getting the perfect RNG to maintain a level 1 mash for soloing purposes, what you can do is use some of the blue cubes that they're going to give you during this celebration to help you get through some of the story chapters. So if you're particularly hurting on one of the solos, or one of the boss battles for whatever reason is really just giving you a lot of trouble, feel free to go ahead and use those blue cubes, as you'll only be able to use them during this, you know, kind of period of this campaign going on to get you through this Lost Belt. After all, these are supposed to help you get through the story chapters so you can play Lost Belt 7 later on this year. Also, keep in mind that if any of the following servants that I'm flashing up on the screen right now are somebody that you're particularly interested in, more so in the case of grailing them, say you really like Super Orion, which is understandable, 5.1 is peak, maybe you really like Gundam, so you like Odysseus, maybe you're an Apocrypha fan, so you'll really like Achilles, or you're a simpler man and you just like your tomboy wifeys and you're gonna go level up Luvia. If you're gonna grail any of them, now is the time to do that, as not only are they gonna be getting more bond points when clearing the Atlantis free quest, which can be pretty nice if you want to go through and kind of do a little bit of extra bond farming while also getting some mats that you might need for these guys. They also have a double great and super success chance for when they get leveled up, while also getting double EXP. So now is the time that if you want to push them to level 100, or you really want to push them over to level 120, now is the time to go ahead and do that. Moving forward, there are 2 buffs, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, that are going to be coming to the game. The first one is for Achilles. It's going to be a buff to his NP. Functionally, he's just going to be doing more damage. It also gives him a bit of a niche now with being able to do additional crits and stuff, which as a quick servant that has an AoE NP that's going to be dropping a lot of stars, you'd figure that would have been something they spawned him in with, but hey, now he can crit even harder, which is very, very nice for him. But the one that I think is actually the prize is Chiyome over here, who gains a demonic and curse power mod, which are both rather nice. Now, demonic on itself is not the craziest thing. There's a decent bit of, you know, enemies that kind of fall into that, but the curse power mod is really strong for her, not only because we're going to be getting a Jacques de Molay free-to-play CE that gives you curse power mod, which is just going to be good for servants that can apply curse to people, but also in her case, she just applies curse on her skills. You know, she's just already doing that, so now she functionally gets free bonus damage. So I think it's a very, very solid buff for Chiyome. Go ahead and test it out. I've used it on JP for the last 2 years. It's very, very fun. And then also for people that have Odysseus, they're going to be bringing back 2 of his costumes, and they're absolutely free if you've already cleared Atlantis. They also bring back his like mecha command code thing, which is alright. It drops 2 crit stars whenever you attack using the card, and it removes an attack buff on the enemy when you use the same card. It's not the craziest thing. You could put this on one of your supports if you just want them to drop stars every now and then have a little bit of a niche in being able to remove attack buffs and stuff along those lines. It's, again, not the craziest thing. Don't lose sleep over who you're going to put it on, but I mean, it's nice. 2 additional stars is never going to, I'm never going to turn that down. There are also going to be a couple of missions that you get for just kind of getting through Atlantis. Nothing too major. It's like a gold foe here, a couple teapots there, a couple of little cubes over here to kind of help you get going once you get into the prologue. If you've already beaten Atlantis, you just get all of these for free at the very beginning. So if you are just sweating that, oh, well, if I haven't, do I get these if I've already cleared it? Yeah, you get it if you're still clear. Don't like lose sleep over this either. You'll get your little rewards, which I know I'm happy about because I'm really close to being done with my Lancer Kagetora getting her 2K'd. So every little bit of gold foes is absolutely valuable to me. Now, moving into the main content, the main Recollection quests, the easier ones that are pretty much just you getting to go fight the boss again. You're going to be fighting Canis, you're going to be fighting Corday, and you're going to be fighting the Cerberus, the dog. These are not very hard on their own, but I do know some people struggle with the super versions of these quests where, the Cerberus is rocking almost like 4 million HP, Corday's rocking almost like, it's like 3.5 million HP, and then Canis over there is also rocking a ridiculous amount of HP. I think she's getting really close to 6 mil, actually, if I remember correctly. Now, thankfully, their buffs that they give themselves aren't the most annoying. It's just you need to either have really, really strong servants that can do like the 3 turns and just one-shot these guys, or you do the normal person route and try to sustain your way through the fights. Things like Merlins, things like Lady Avalons, and Asclepius could be very good for this, or even a Hans if you don't have anything else. Someone that can just try to help keep your servants alive can be very valuable in these quests. Now, thankfully, again, the tickets are given for just beating the normal boss fights, which once you make it through Atlantis, you've already done it once. You just got to do it again to get 3 additional tickets. And let me tell you, tickets do build up. Don't just think of it as like, well, I don't need these 3 tickets. Dude, you want to make sure you do these. As someone who has gotten really lucky, pulling Skahak on a ticket, pulling Melusine on a ticket over there, just having these available, especially in mass for a large servant that you want to get, whether it's Kukulkan, Tets, Draco, any of the summer servants next year that are all going to be really good, a Tiamat, even Kenshin that comes out later on next year at the very end of the year. Every little bit counts. And for just going back and beating a boss you've already beaten, I'd say it's worth it. The teapots are also really nice if you specifically want to level up the bond of some of the Atlantis servants, because not only are they getting the bond bonus for doing the free quest, the teapots just kind of exacerbate that even to a higher degree. So that can be very nice, or you can hold on to them for a little bit and use them for someone like Morgan or something, some servant that actually deserves it. But speaking of the Atlantis servants, that kind of closes out what we have over here with the summoning campaign. And by the way, if you're really concerned about like, oh, I can't get through the super Recollection quests, they're too hard, don't worry. Over like the next couple of days, I'll probably just drop my runs on all of these super versions of them. Yeah, it'll probably be a little bit boring using like a stall team, or I'll try to not use Morgan all the time. All right, let's agree with that. Let me make a promise to people that, look, for one of them I will use Morgan. I have to use her for one run at the very least, but for some of the other ones I'll whip out some other servant and we'll try to have a little bit more fun with it. But closing off with the summoning campaign, a lot of the servants here are fine. Somebody like, I was gonna say that Artemis was okay, but Artemis is a little past her time. I mean, she was really good for the Gawain fight in Camelot, but aside from that, I can't really say that she's been all too great for content lately. I mean, she can still shred male enemies, I guess, so that's something if you think she's really cute. But look, I would hold off on going for her until they hit her with an animation update, hit her up with a costume that she had from 5.1, which I have no idea why they didn't introduce that now, but wait for her to get some buff alongside that costume, and then I think she may or may not be worth that. Achilles after his buff is pretty fine. If you need a quick looper, he's not like the craziest, but he's also not bad. Estrella is kind of nuts. And I think it is an absolute huge high value banner that right now on the NA version of the game, Super Orion is on right up with Estrella. She is probably the most high value 4-star on this banner and one of the most high value 4-stars in the game. She just shreds everything. She's an art servant that provides her own stars. She can crit really well. She's got good power mods. She's just good all around. And the fact that she's on rate up with Super Orion, which, let's be honest, that is the prize of this banner, just makes it really good to go for. Now, again, keep in mind, there are going to be way better servants releasing later on this year, but that doesn't mean that Super Orion's not, like, worth summoning for, right? He's still very, very strong. It's just, please, you gotta think, do you want to go for somebody like Castoria, Oberon, Koyenskaya, Kukulkan, you know, all these nutty guys that are returning and releasing for the first time, or do you want to go for Super Orion? If you're more of a dolphin, or you're okay with spending like 20-30 bucks on the game, maybe you do just chuck a couple of bucks at the banner, see what you're able to get. But if you're more on the free-to-play side and you're wondering, is this worth going for one, I would consider going after all the supports at the end of the year. Once you have those done, you can pretty much go for whoever you want. Getting the supports in FGO pretty much locks your account in for just being able to do whatever you want. But then if you've already got those guys, then just start like weighing your options. Like, okay, do I want to go for Kukulkan? Well, I mean, guaranteed pity is going to be about like 900 Saint Quartz. So do I have that already? Okay, can I spare a little bit of Saint Quartz? Just keep that stuff in mind. Now, if you're wondering about some of the other guys, Chiron is fine. You know, he's very solid as kind of like an anti-earth, pseudo support type servant. He's not too bad. Chiyome, like I just said earlier, it becomes a lot of fun to use now, becomes quite solid with her buff. And then Odysseus, I think they could probably throw him above. I think he's kind of starting to fall off a little bit with his skill set being a little bit dated, but because of how FGO works, even if I think he's becoming a little bit dated, the game, again, like the supports are so broken that you can kind of just get away with using whoever you want. But with that being said, again, if you're going to be summoning for any of these units, let me know how deep you're going to be going and for who. And with all that being said, I guess I will catch you guys on the next video where we're going to be clapping up all these 3 to 6 million HP enemies. So wish me luck on that one, and I'll catch you guys in the next videos. Peace.